Synthaholics, it's the Red Tackle Podcast.
Welcome to the Synthaholics podcast. This week, Aaron and I have a special surprise guest with us.
Yay!
Yeah, you've never heard of him, and it's going to be so exciting to have him here. Aaron, why don't you tell them who our guest is?
Our guest, very special for you, is David Duncan. Say hello, David.
Mr. Back! It's a Jar Jar Pizza! This is the humble servant! I'm just gonna got the peanut, guys!
Okay, let's get him off the show.
Yeah, go away now.
Where's the hook? The hook is coming!
We were not expecting David to join us this week, but he surprise called us, and so here we are.
Surprise!
Surprise!
Ow, my balls! Ow, my balls.
Oh.
Ow, my balls.
Ow.
I also just rewatched Idiocracy the other day, so Ow, my balls is a staple of that film.
That's great. Nice.
So to come, you know, that's our future. So this week we are discussing the Conundrum, which is The Next Generation, Season 5, Episode 14. And just before we get started, we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about how where you can find us. And obviously you have found us if you are listening to this podcast. But we do have a Facebook group that you can come and join the conversation. It's the Synthaholics Podcast on Facebook. And if you would like to donate to our Patreon is www.patreon.com/synthaholics.com. You can also tweet us on the Twitter at Synthaholic Duo. Aaron is Blackbird2004. David is David_J_Duncan. And I am a Lunathizzle. I don't tweet very often, but feel free to
Yeah, so
Is the present tense of teaches, if the past tense of teaches taught, is the past tense of tweet twat?
Twit.
oh my god, twit.
Might be twit.
Twit. You twit. We got some news just the other day that the Picard show is a wrap.
It's a wrap.
They have finished filming for the first season of Picard, season 1. So now it's all gone into post-production now.
Yay. Bravo.
Yay, add the special effects, then we can get a real trailer with real things to see.
Yeah, that's it's exciting. We also we know that Riker's going to be back with Deanna Troi. Riker made a little comment that he was nervous about playing Riker again because he hasn't played the character in 18 years. So
You mean he hasn't had sex in 18 years?
whew, it's a long time.
It's a
He
long
hasn't had sex
time.
on screen in 18 years. He's been directing people having sex on screen, so he should know what he's doing if he's been directing it.
More grunting.
God.
Come harder, come fast. Oh, wait, no.
Good.
He does porno now. That's all he
Right,
does.
right. He's got to have an alias for that.
It's Tom Riker.
Tom Riker. There you go. Nicely played, sir.
Is there a porn director named Tom Riker that I don't know
Oh,
about?
I don't know. I'm not going to search that up.
Yeah, I don't really want to know. Don't tell me.
No, yeah.
Mr. Google.
It's all furry porn.
I bet there is. Oh my
Anyway.
Anyways, moving on. Yeah, so we're talking again. We're going still on the theme of Picard. We're looking at episodes that we thought kind of defined Picard. In this week, we're going to be talking about the episode Conundrum. As Holly said before, Conundrum is a great episode because we kind of get Picard without his past and who he is, even without knowing everything that he knows and all the experience he can draw from. So
Yeah, unjaded, unhitched with all of that bad juju. He has no idea it happened.
The baggage is gone.
Yes. So I was excited because I wanted to see how he was without the knowledge of what he had done and become, and see how it compared to the way he acts in other situations. And I was not surprised. He's the same Picard. So
yeah, you're reassured that this is the guy.
Reassured, yes.
Yeah. Holly, you brought up a interesting thing before Dave came on. Maybe we just throw it out. If you have any ideas, you can either on the Facebook group page or what have you, tweet at us. If you had your memories wiped and you just nothing to hold you back, what do you think you'd do? Would you be the same person?
You know, that's so cool.
What trouble would you get yourself into, as we see? So it's interesting. So let's get into the episode, because this is a fun episode anyways. Mm-hmm. It's not just about Picard. I'm going to do a quick breakdown, but I mean, we can chime in at any of the stuff if we want to. But I'll touch on the main points, I suppose. So as Holly said, this is season 5, episode 14, and first aired February 17th, 1992. Woo!
1992?
It's a long time in the future. So we get to the very beginning. Data is playing Deanna Troi over some 3D chess, and Deanna Troi beats Data, surprisingly, and they have a bet that she's going to get him a certain drink. So we see that in the very beginning.
Data melts down immediately.
It's called a Sumerian sunset, Dave. So that's you work on that, fixing that drink.
Yeah, I gotta figure out that one.
Yeah.
Looks interesting. Next scene, we have Beverly is tending to a young diver who hurt herself cliff diving on the holodeck. And then we get another scene where Commander Riker and Ensign Rowe are walking down the hallway, and they're having an argument about how she piloted a shuttlecraft, I think.
And didn't ask his permission for some decision she made or something. Yes,
and so they're at odds as usual. And when the Enterprise gets a small vessel, comes up to it, unknown origin, and Picard's like, well, let's, Worf's like, let's raise seals, and Picard's like, no, let's play this different. Yeah, let's talk to these people, and they scan.
Think of that thing I put on our Facebook group, Worf Solutions and Starfleet Answers.
Oh, I know, the giant freaking bullet in the handgun.
It doesn't fit.
That was perfect. So during the ship starts scanning the Enterprise, but the scan is so strong it actually starts wiping the computers out, and then all of a sudden the scan goes over everybody.
There's a flash of green,
and they all lose their memory. And they forget who they are as their identity. So that's the very beginning. We get the intro, and then we're back on the bridge, and they're all standing up, looking at each other. But with one exception, there is somebody that we've never seen before, Commander McDuff. And obviously, we know this whole time that this guy, who's this guy? Because we know the bridge crew, and this guy doesn't belong here.
Right.
But they don't know each other, so. Nobody knows who they are.
He's second in command.
Yes, he put himself just enough to try to swing things if he has to. So while they're trying to figure out, they're going through.
Riker lots more time to score.
Oh yes, and he does, and he does.
Do you think Jonathan Frakes did this on purpose?
Probably, he probably did. This is going to be a fun episode.
Oh, I can't wait. So they're all trying to figure out what they're doing, and then even Riker suggests that Picard might be the leader of this ship because he has 4 pits on his shoulder, or on his collar. But where Worf says,
"I am
now wait a second,
as well.
I've got this fancy thing across my chest. You think I'm the leader?
I'm the leader." Yeah, exactly.
See my bullet? I can't even fit it in my gun. They issued me this gun that doesn't fit the bullets I've got.
I got the biggest forehead. I can headbutt everyone here.
You want to ride my face, Picard?
Brandon,
It's
I really want to know your train of thought that took you there.
It's a scrotal massage.
So strangely enough, they as they're trying to figure out who they are, we go. Crusher is in sickbay, but she's there trying to figure out who she is. But they all seem to have the institutional knowledge of their skills. Like they haven't lost that. They know how to work a computer.
My scalpel doesn't work. That's a hypo spray.
Oh shit! I just cut your finger off. Ensign Rowe knows how to fly the ship. They still know how to use their computers. Worf can read the tactical display. So
this says boom.
This says blow everything up. So they're working on just kind of like picking up the scraps of what they know and
Who they are or what they're doing there.
Yeah, right. Strangely enough, a lot of stuff, the computer's not working either. They can't use navigation. They can't use any communication. They can't fly the ship or go to warp.
Then how does she know she can fly the ship?
She understands. She remembers, but the helm's not responding. So that's true. She could just pretend that she knows.
She's lying. She's a Bajoran. Bajorans aren't the most truthful of people.
Come on. Let's be nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be racist.
So, but the
hashtag Cardassia forever.
Cardassia forever. So now they're all trying to figure out who they are and what their mission of the ship is and all that stuff. So they have no memory whatsoever of anything, and they can't even pull it up on the computer. They can't even pull up personnel files right now. So they're trying to figure all that.
They can't even be the mirror universe people reading about their mirror universe selves.
That's right. So while they're working on that, Riker and Rowe are going through the ship, and they're trying to kind of like make contact with all the different groups that are still like they go to 10 forward and they go to engineering, and they're just trying to like make contact with everybody on the ship and make sure everyone's okay.
Anybody knows what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, and to kind of like maybe reassure everybody that everything will be okay. Yeah. During that time, of course, Rowe definitely hits on Riker a couple times.
Yeah, if you show up in a man's cabin, that's on you.
That's on you.
That's on you. That wasn't Riker advancing. That was
I got the space
pure
rubbers.
Seduction. Space rubbers.
Oh, yeah.
I sure hope they used space rubbers.
Ribbed for his, her, or its pleasure.
See, Worf's face is the space condom. It's ribbed for her and his pleasure, I suppose.
He just puts on a huge latex mask.
Worf.
Anyways.
Worf condoms.
Oh, boy. All right, so...
I'm glad I did not catch what you just said.
Okay, yes, let's move on. So,
LaForge
gets some of the ship's computer information, and the one thing we find out, which is pretty funny during this whole time, is Worf
still has no game.
Worf assumes he's in command. And so he's sitting on the captain's chair, he's in the captain's ready room, he's giving orders, and meanwhile, and he's hell-bent on getting the weapons online and getting the ship up and running, just in case they're attacked, or if they have to attack. Meanwhile, Picard's like, what's our purpose here? What do we need to do? Is
this
everyone
needs to
all
be
right?
Priority.
Yeah. And Worf's like, nope. Gotta arm the phasers, arm the photon torpedoes, make sure the ship's engines are working. Which, yes, he's right. Those are important, but there's other things too. So while he's giving... Yes. Do the toilets work?
Not in Worf's room. He's been eating gah.
Oh, that toilet. So... when they finally pull up the personnel for the commanding crew, we get everyone's credentials. Worf finds out that he is only chief of security and not captain.
I liked that he was last to be read off.
I know, he's like, oh.
Well, I didn't like it. I felt for him, but it was funny.
It was like, you could just feel like all the
bravado drained out of him.
Just sucks. Like, just you took a balloon and just blew all the air out. Yeah. And we do find out that this interlooper that we have here, Commander Karen McDuff, is the ship's first officer, and Riker is now second officer. So again,
Data's been downgraded again. He lost the chest, and now he's third officer.
Or even before that, Data was serving drinks at 10 Forward.
Because he has no idea he's not a bartender, because he was making the sunrise drink when his mind was erased.
Yeah, he just assumed he was a drink maker at the freaking 10 Forward. He's doing the whole cocktail, shaking the thing.
I want a Data special.
Making martinis. Yeah.
I'm fully functional for your pleasure.
No, just want the alcohol, please, thanks.
Just the alcohol. That's great. I bet he would make some mean drinks, too.
Right?
You know he would.
Right?
And obviously they find out that, Troy, which is down with them in 10 Forward, is the ship's counselor as well. So, they get more and more information. The weapons have been put online. Some of the engines are working, and communications within the ship are working, but they still can't communicate to anybody else. But they do find out they have some orders. They say basically that they are at war with these Lysinians.
Which we know to be false.
Yes, the Lysinians they're mortal enemies, and they've been at war for years with Lysinians, and they have a weapon that can cause total memory loss, and that's one of the ways. And then they take advantage of a ship, and then they enslave them or imprison them or something to that nature. And they're like, well, that's what happened to us. That's why we can't think we can't remember anything. So they find out that their order was to set course to the Lysinian command center, and they're to destroy it. And I guess their mission was the whole linchpin of this war. And once they take this out, a bunch of other things are going to happen. So they find out what the coordinates are, and they start flying towards it. During this whole time, Troy is like, I don't know, it just seems wrong. It's like, why would we be going to war with these people? We don't even know what they did. We don't know anything about them. And Riker's kind of like, yeah, war sucks, but, if that's what we're at, we gotta deal with it. It's not, you don't have to like it to be at war. And, of course, when we find out also Riker, when he goes to his quarters, he finds Ro waiting for him, as we said, and, they get it on.
Yes, and it bugged me because, not because I knew, the whole situation, but because moments before and earlier in the episode, Riker and Deanna was like, very open about
I feel something.
There is something between us, and maybe she wasn't like, maybe you should consider that before you go stick it between those two poles, but but you know what I mean, like
yeah.
The Imzadi bond is strong, but not strong enough.
It's curious because now it's like
Riker,
we're all looking at Picard.
He knows he's a player. He knows he's got to get his dick wet in as many pools as he can.
Dog's gotta hunt,
and I think he was enjoying this because he didn't know who he belonged to, because he had this beautiful woman who was like, I'm pretty sure there's something here, and he taunts her with the book, and he's like, oh, read it. And so like he knows there's something, but he still fucking
well,
anyway,
I think you're given a free pass if you don't remember anything.
I don't know about that.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Well, the first time he didn't. All he knew was that Troy told him that he felt there was a connection between them.
Right. That one I could understand.
But then the second time, when she has the book "Ode to Psyche" and
he had
by
the
John
book.
Keats.
Yeah.
He had the book, and it was a gift, with love, from Troy, and so they're like, they realizing they have a moment there. They're like, oh, we there's something between us, and then Ro shows up and is like, interrupting anything?
Bye.
No. All right, well, I'll see you later.
Define interrupting something.
Oh my gosh.
Free love in space. You both can take a ride on the Riker machine. I mean, machine.
To be fair, Riker and Troy have this very strange relationship. I mean, Riker gave up their relationship to be, get into the command program and to become a commander and hopefully someday a captain.
And she stalked him across all his commands.
She did stalk him, but then she wound up dating Worf for a while. I mean, like
later on.
It's a weird relationship. I mean, they do marry later on.
She gets fucked by a little light thing that makes her pregnant and spit out a baby in like 20 minutes. Which is pretty weird.
That was before this episode, though.
Oh, yeah. She gets betrothed to some other guy also before this episode, so she's...
I'm just saying, they don't have a clear relationship. It's not like... They are definitely not dating, but they're very close. So it's very difficult for me to be like... It's sort of like Roddenberry's idea of what a relationship should be. I don't know if I agree with it. Because he was definitely in for the free love side of things. Obviously, he cheated on his first wife to get with Michelle Barrett, who plays Deanna's mom.
And he cheated on her a bunch, too. So, like, it's just...
Yeah, he was like, how can I make a character like me, but more dashing?
The character of Riker, Picard, and Wesley are all parts of Roddenberry. The Picard is the look to the future, the great ideas Roddenberry had. Riker's the horniness of Roddenberry, and Wesley's the youthful, daydreamy part of him, and that's why he hated that people hated on Wesley, because these three characters were all supposed to represent him in different ways.
Hilarious.
Okay.
Did he ruin Star Trek for you?
No, I'm just curious why people hate Wesley.
He's stupid and annoying. I can't stand his face and his rainbow shirt and panties.
Well, panties? You know what his panties look like.
Everything's the same, but he wears. It's gotta match.
It's rainbow. It's rainbow.
And his mom
I like
dresses
Wesley,
him, of course.
So.
I never had a problem with Wesley, actually.
I love Will Wheaton. I just don't like Wesley.
No, I think Wesley was fine. I think people... I mean, there's other characters I hate way more than Wesley. Neelix. Anyways, let's get back to... Crusher has a possible solution to their missing memories, and that she has that she could restore the crew's memories. But
if we go to the transporter and just rematerialize the way we were before.
So many things could be actually fixed by that. You know that?
They forget a lot in Star Trek.
Yeah. Even when someone dies, you can just restore that person from the last time they beamed.
Exactly.
Really?
That shouldn't be a thing anymore. Yeah.
Huh.
I mean,
theoretically
you should be able to, because transporting kills you and reassembles you every single time, so...
Interesting.
Yeah, the Commander McDuff, our stranger, who's in second command, decides that he will, volunteer for this risky medical procedure, but apparently it doesn't work for him, and he starts convulsing or has seizures. And then when Dr. Crusher decides to, shut off the experiment, he kind of like smiles, like, ha ha ha, I got them. Also during this time, they run into a small destroyer of the Lysinians, and they just wipe it out in a second. It just blows up. It doesn't have any of the firepower necessary to even attack the Enterprise. And Picard starts to wondering, what am I doing fighting these people? Like they can't even hold up against us. And then he calls a meeting with McDuff and basically saying it's like me giving me a gun and going to a room and told to kill the stranger and not knowing why to kill him. he says, I can't do it. And then McDuff's like, but we have orders and people are depending on us. And so Picard's sort of like, maybe. But, he's definitely, he's worried about the situation.
I'm not going to drink the Flavor Aid.
So McDuff then has a meeting with Worf, basically saying, you and I are obviously much more warrior-like. We're much more aggressive than the others. The captain is a bit of a diplomat. Obviously,
wrestling room.
Put on that latex mask you put on. And he says during that we might need a split-second decision, one to attack. And if Picard hesitates, we have to kind of take over. So this is like a mutiny kind of idea going on here. So he's seeding that. So when they get to they get to the Lysinian area where the Central Command is, these little sentry fighter pods attack them, but Enterprise just blows through them like tissue paper, and they have basically they figure out it's only take one photon torpedo to blow this place up. They're not at all equipped to take them on. And when Picard asks Data how many people are on that command center, he said 15,000. And Picard's like, I just can't do it. And this is when McDuff says that he has to destroy the station, and Picard says, just won't do it. And then he tries to get Worf to spring into action and to blow this station up, and Worf decides he's not going to do it either. And McDuff he knocks Worf over, just throws him across the room. And then Riker somehow has a phaser on his side, which is kind of odd. And he fires on McDuff, and then we get to see that McDuff's not human. There's something else going on. There's some kind of cloaking
Magma
thing to make him look
Bones.
human. Yeah, Magma Bones. Old Magma Bones McDuff, eh?
Hey, it's a Pokemon. He's a Magmar.
Magmar.
Slugma.
The McDuff's was then... So after McDuff's basically knocked out or subdued. Later on, Crusher works on restoring their memory, and McDuff is they figure out that he's a race called the Satarian, and they've been at war with the Lysinians for quite a while. And this was a plot to try to destroy the Lysinians, and this was a way they were going to do it. So next we get Riker come to 10 forward, and he sees Troy and Ro are talking, and he's like, oh shit, I gotta face this, don't I? And then
let's just go back to my room for a threesome. That way it's fair.
Come on, guys.
It's fair.
I'll be bygones, be bygones. We didn't know what we were doing,
I've got a strap on for you, Ro, because we know you like it rough.
And Ro says obviously it's a memory that we will both treasure. And Troy says that such actions are a result of unconscious desires. So it's like, oh. So, and then, Riker says, well, we need to talk about that. He says, if you're confused tomorrow, you know where my office is. And then she walks out.
Serves him right.
She wants to get him on his couch.
I don't think so. I think he's going to be sleeping on the couch for a while.
Exactly.
So, that wraps it up.
I love how the Lysinian starbase is the same starbase thing from the Edo episode. And
yes,
it was just a godlike race that drifted between dimensions. How did they get so backwards so quick?
Maybe this is their mirror universe.
Oh, no.
Dave, since you were on this episode as a surprise, we'll let you go first. First takeaways of Picard and anything else you want to say about the episode Conundrum.
Well, Picard is a diplomat through and through. He remembers his training. I guess everyone kind of remember their training, so apparently he went to lots of diplomat school.
But is it training, or is it just his moral core that he just doesn't follow orders blindly?
I mean, it's probably a little bit of both, because, their personalities, or, at least their memories of, who they were wiped out completely, so, but they do remember all their technical skills, and diplomacy is a skill. I'm sure some people are better at it than others, just naturally by the gift of gab or whatever. But there's definitely some training that's there that comes through. I would.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's definitely some things that people learn, either in, like you said, diplomacy or business. You know, how to talk to people, how to get people to see things your way or to get them on your side. I mean, there's different social things that you can do to get people, you know, to be a little different.
And, like, you know, I think this backs up a little bit more kind of what I was saying last week with the drumhead, where he's just, like, he just takes things with such grace, and he's very... kind of takes it as they come, but he's so calm about how he handles everything. He never really like raises his voice or gets upset, and he just is very good at controlling the situation, very calm and level-headed, unlike Worf.
I don't know. I can think of some instances where I remember Patrick Stewart quite yelly.
Yes,
he does at times, yeah, for sure.
He gets yelly in the movies.
I mean, I think I'm sure we could find a few, but this is definitely one of those times where we definitely see his core.
Oh yeah, and his memory stripped away. He's still the best of the best that Q hopes we could aspire to, or that Picard believes humanity can aspire to. Although it only seems like Picard is that truly good.
I think a lot of the crew actually is. I mean, even Riker with his philandering, he definitely he's a decent person deep down.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sure they are, but I mean, like, you look at Sisko, he's not the greatest of person. O'Brien's deeply racist. Every single admiral, hashtag Cardassians didn't do it. Every single admiral in Star Trek is some sort of secret asshole or not so secret asshole.
Right.
It's just like Picard and his crew are like the gems that stick out, and everyone else seems sort of dubious in the future. So Q might have been right. Who knows? I mean, it'd be nice to see more ships, and I really hope future Star Trek series will be more on a global scale and not just a single ship scale, so we could see how people are. I mean, if you remember the Valiant and the Deep Space Nine, the sister ship of the Defiant, it was crewed by a bunch of hot-headed teenage assholes.
Well, of course,
on a pleasure cruise to try to take out the Cardassians and the Dominion. It was, I don't know, it's just everyone not Patrick Stewart's crew is kind of like not great. And I mean, I love Sisko; he's great, but he's definitely way more shades of gray.
Sisko always reminded me as like he was a guy who was probably not going to stay in Starfleet very long, but because of the situation between the Cardassians and the Bajoran homeworld, and then obviously the wormhole, he rise to occasion to become somebody totally different.
But the thing is, he was predestined to do all this stuff because he's a god.
Well, that's a different story. It's a different story because time is different. You could if you look at like a character through the fourth dimension instead of, like on top of it, or maybe even the fifth dimension, that probably that story had already played out. But at the time, he had to make a decision to stay at Deep Space Nine. We see that all in Emissary, part 1 and 2. I mean, he decides to do all those things, and he decides to become better and better.
He does, but it's interesting. It's sort of like that Matrix conversation we had, like predestination versus, free will. I mean, he did make all these decisions, but because he's part wormhole alien, he was sort of kind of predestined to do all this stuff because the wormhole aliens saw it all happen. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit of both, and it's interesting in Star Trek that we can see that. Although we're not talking about it, but it's just an interesting side note.
I just going on that, I'm going to take this way off the rails now. I just finished reading Arthur C. Clarke's book, Childhood's End, and it's basically kind of think of like the beginning of the movie Independence Day, where all these ships show up. and they don't know who they are, and there's this race, and they basically want to help humanity and fix humanity's all the problems so we don't kill each other anymore and all that stuff. But the aliens won't reveal themselves for the longest time, and then finally the aliens reveal themselves, and they technically look like the archetypical look of a devil. You know, they have the wings, the horns, and the pointy tails and everything. And everyone's like, whoa, what the hell? And there's like this deep, psychological thing all through our history of that type of archetype of the devil, right? Mm-hmm. And we find out, as the book progresses, I won't give the whole book away, but, there's a reason, they say that time, our deep-seated memory and like fear of that typical devil look was based on that because of the events that were going to happen, because our subconscious or our mass subconscious memories of this echoed through time. So even before it even happened, we had that fear of them. That's
so crazy. I love that, like, that mass hysteria through group thought type thing. What are they called? It's in Supernatural, where, like, if enough people believe in something, that...
Oh, it's a tulpa.
A tulpa, yeah. So a tulpa, yeah. So if enough people believe in a thing, even though it's not real, the collective real. Psychic unconsciousness of everyone makes it real because everyone believes in it.
Yeah, it's like the whole idea of a Slender Man, you know, like of people, enough people think about it and believe in it or dwell on it, that thing could become real. Obviously, this is all fantasy. I mean, maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know, but it's just interesting.
Well, they say that the last podcast on the left episodes about Men in Black is that they're tulpas because so many people believe in them, and they're always different because no one's thoughts on them are the same.
Right.
Which is super fascinating.
Interesting stuff. But anyways, that took it way off the rails.
Super
but anyways,
off
I just
the
went.
rails.
I'm sorry. I just finished reading the novel. I started it and I just finished it at the end of the vacation. So I was like, okay. Anything else you want to talk about this, Dave? About Picard or anything? Obviously,
I mean, Picard's great. He's just always the steadfast, amazing character. And I really think in Picard we're going to see him take a dark turn, because ever since the movies he's been going on the more darker turn where he's not as good and upright. And we know Patrick Stewart came to them and he's like, we're not going to do the same Picard. So I'm assuming he's going to be a very different Picard from the little snippets I've read that Patrick Stewart wanted to do something different with this show.
Different, but doesn't mean he's going to go dark, though. Maybe he's a comedian.
Whatever you read, Dave, I want to be surprised. So please don't share it with me.
Well, this is a podcast. We have to talk about the things that are Star Trek.
Be as vague as you can, and then if you want to blog about what you read, please go ahead. But I, personally, I want to figure everything out on my own.
I think he's going to be a comedian.
I mean, that is vague. I mean,
pro wrestler?
Yeah.
No, you didn't say anything just now that was bad. I'm just saying for the future. I just don't. If you do ever read something that is, you know, somebody spilled the beans, I personally.
We're here to speculate, and even if someone spills the beans, it doesn't mean just because someone quote unquote spills the beans doesn't mean it's true. Because rumors that quote unquote leak a lot of times end up not being true.
It could if it is true, it could ruin the experience for me. And that would suck, and that'd be on you.
You guys are on totally different opposite end of the spectrum of this kind of stuff, because Holly doesn't want any kind of reveals whatsoever until she actually sees the actual content. And Dave, you read everything beforehand, so
but that's my job. We podcast on stuff. We have to talk about the stuff that is there to read because that's new and exciting.
That is new and exciting, but that's not the way I experience it.
Well,
this is more off podcast.
Let's agree to disagree and let's move on. Holly, here we have what did you think of this episode, the Conundrum?
Well, I had a response to Dave, but I have been drinking Jameson for the last, 3 hours. So it's just something I just wanted to throw in there that I agree with you that, the crew of the Enterprise, they really are, shining examples of what people should be. And I think a big part of this episode that kind of mirrors that is Worf, because he thought that he was in charge, because that's just his personality. He is a take charge kind of person, but
sure.
But he also exhibited humility when he realized he wasn't. And then McGuff came to him and suggested mutiny. Worf, he wasn't convinced that it was the right thing to do, but he wasn't convinced it was the wrong thing to do either. He mulled it over, and then in the heat of the moment, he was like, no, fuck you. My loyalty is to the captain. And so there is corruption. And the Enterprise was written to be, the superheroes, the guys who were pure, or at least trying to do what was morally just.
Sure.
And so I really liked this episode because Picard is still the Picard we know and love, and it reminds us that he is mission driven, but he asks the big questions and he cares about others. And so I think that this is important to view before we go into Picard. And he has these same characteristics after his issues with the Borg, so it's a core, it's part of his core personality.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's funny, just a couple thoughts, just what you said there is memories, not memories, but our experience sometimes jade us. Mm-hmm. I've known people in life, who's had some bad things happen to them one way or the other, and it kind of jaded them, and they're not the same person anymore. They are maybe not as optimistic.
Right.
Maybe not as hopeful, maybe cynical. And those are hard shackles to throw off when maybe you've been burned, for the 20th time or something like that.
Right.
Hard in, there's some people who are cynical with, love. They think, there's no good woman out there for me, there's no good man out there for me, that kind of thing. It's sad because their experiences have put them into that corner, and obviously there's other things out there. Mm-hmm. And we all get there, obviously, one way or the other. And Picard has unfortunately been ground down enough more than once, and maybe it changes him a bit. But at his core, what's redeeming about him? He's still the same person deep down. Like you said, he doesn't disappoint. Yeah,
and not to detract from the seriousness and the complete truth of what you're saying, a song that just popped in my head was Chumbawamba's
I get knocked down.
Yeah.
Never gonna get me down. I hope Picard sings that in the new series. That would be great.
That was the difference that we were going to talk about.
That's
how he changed.
Picard will be a singer, songwriter in the new Picard.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I didn't want to detract from because I really like what you just said. So I'm sorry, but it did pop into my head, and I was like, oh, I have to share this.
I'm glad you did. That's actually excellent.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to bring up to that?
Oh, he can sing with Jadan. They'll have a reunion tour.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Because the Klingon.
Because we need to see Patrick Stewart rapping.
Yes, with Jadan, the Klingon. Last week, Aaron, we were making fun of the Klingon who was at the beginning of the episode, who was on trial because his name seemed so un-Klingon.
Oh yeah.
So we called him a Klingon rapper.
That'd be awesome.
So he's like, it's like, you're damn right. Yeah, so,
you're damn right.
You're damn right, I'm a rapper.
I always want to start an R&B group, called Touche, but it was, spelled Tushy.
I will sing with you.
We gotta be that total, in sync, boys to men kind of thing.
That would be so much fun.
Not to get the tanning booth.
The only other thing I wanted to say was actually something that I thought of while, Dave, you were going over your last thoughts. Are we going to see Q in Picard?
God, I hope so. I hope so.
Great.
I need John Delancey in my life in Star Trek.
He's in. He's that weird dragon in My Little Pony.
Yes.
I forgot his name.
It's the Eye of the Pony. It's the
I should
thrill
know
of
this.
one bite.
Oh my god, I can hear
when my daughter watches
every single My Little Pony. I can hear every pony saying his name. Discord. Yeah. It's Discord. I'm so ashamed that
I'm so ashamed that I blanked on it.
I love My Little Pony. Okay.
Yeah.
I am 30.
There's some good episodes out there. No, I've watched it too with my daughter. There's some good episodes. Not every episode's good, but there are better episodes.
And the voice actors are amazing.
Yeah, there's some funny stuff.
John Delancey. I mean, come on.
John Delancey's on it. Maybe we'll see Q. I haven't heard that yet, but who knows?
I really hope so. I'd love to see Q.
That's got to be their secret.
That would be a good secret to pop up.
It would actually be an awesome end of the season if he shows up, and then it's like the cliffhanger.
That would be great.
That would be so good. So that was the only thought that I had remaining. I'm again, Aaron, I'm gonna say it. You've picked some excellent episodes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So, what do you think?
I like this episode mostly because we get to see characters, as we've discussed, unshackled from their past, unshackled from social relationships that they had before. So we see Worf just take command. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the biggest, meanest guy tries to jump in charge just because, for whatever reason they think, but that's not always what makes a good commander. Right. As you were saying before, Picard, he wanted to assess everything. The well-being of the crew, the how the ship. You remember he wanted to run a full diagnostic of the computers. And Picard's like, well, that's going to take everything offline. He says, yeah, but if we're going to go into any kind of combat, we have, our lives are at stake on this. We can't just take it up to chance.
What if the guns don't go pew?
Yeah. So, Picard's seeing a bigger picture where, like, someone like Worf is only seeing the narrowest version of the Enterprise. There's more, even if you are in a military situation, you still have to think of people under your command and what they need to accomplish what they're doing. So he just can't just go like, whatever, man, just shoot those damn guns, But anyways, that's what I thought was interesting. And secondly, I think what's nice is that, Picard deep down, no matter what, is the same person. Mm-hmm. And he's gonna, that's who he is. You're never gonna alter that with him. So he has a moral compass that can't be changed. And he's not going to, just because you give him an order, like we saw with Data's daughter, Lal, where they order to they're going to take her away from Data. He's like, stand your ground, Data. We don't have to stand for this. And the Admiral's like, you could lose everything, your whole command. And he's like, if that's what it takes, that's what I got to do. Right. It's great. And it's what you want out of anybody. Who's if it's your boss, if it's your commander, if it's, a parent or somebody, of authority, you want them, they're going to put everything on the line for you if they need to. And they're going to break the rules if they need to. Right. And that's who I want, who's in command of something that my husband's attached to. You know what I mean? Sure. That's the thing is like, and even, it's sad to say that even in any kind of military situation, there have been orders that are, obviously the people who get in trouble are the lower ranking. It's never the generals often who ever get put in jail for some awful order that's been put down. And if like it's some war crime or something like that, it's like, well, you executed that order. You did it. You should have stand your ground and said no. So those issues do happen from time, not a lot. Hopefully. So we've
been tied to an unfortunate experience, an unfortunate training accident, actually. And basically what had happened was they didn't count the mortars properly, so they dropped 2 mortars in a chamber, and the chamber exploded and killed a bunch of Marines in a training exercise here in the States. And as far as I know, it wasn't that the round, it was just a counting issue. And so even in training, that is a very high risk situation. It's not safe. You're doing dangerous things. But because of that incident, a higher up, I don't think they were at that range. But anyway, there was a quote unquote lack of confidence step down. So it happens both ways,
Sure.
To what,
yeah,
to like what you're saying. So like,
yeah, no, but that's the thing is like, details matter, of course, and something like that sounds like, I mean, it's a very common thing. A lot of people glaze over things like, I don't need to worry about that, don't worry about that. And yeah, maybe you should, and especially when dealing with mortars, I would say.
Yeah.
But my thought is that, like, there's definitely like stories in like from the Vietnam War where they were ordered to do certain terrible things that
True.
Nobody should have given those orders, period. But obviously the top brass was pushing on the lower ranks to do things, to get things done, and they were going to get anything done possible. And and those
it's
people
different now, at least.
Yes, yeah, that was a different time, obviously. That was the 1960s, 70s, that was different. But, but the same idea is like, Picard was given these, which were false orders, but he was like, why are we doing this? Like, I can't justify this. Like these people are completely unarmed. This doesn't make any sense.
One thing I did write down that I forgot, I didn't circle it, so I forgot about it, was just that nobody fucking listened to Deanna. And, I think she was listed as just ship's counselor, but she was ahead of Worf. So, I mean...
She's technically number 2 on the ship.
You should technically be consulting her. And nobody really took her seriously in this episode. And I thought that was a shame. And, a disservice to, not just the mission. They didn't know what the mission was, but as a whole, it was just, you have this person who can understand feelings and connections between people that nobody else has, and you're I almost said exploiting, but you're not using that. You should be utilizing that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And she's telling you this is wrong. And ultimately, at the end, she's like, this is wrong. And he's like, I will not, what did he say? I do not fire on innocent people. And he still hadn't had his memory back yet.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's just what you want from that character, is what you want from anybody, really.
What you want from a good leader.
Yeah. But this is one of the reasons why, we kind of picked this one, because I thought this kind of just gets at the very essence of him. Yes. Take away everything, all his experiences. So, good stuff.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up. Obviously, this is an interesting episode. Definitely watch it if you haven't already. And tweet, like I said, again, tweet us or email us or send us a group thing. What you think you would do if you didn't have any of your memories, like if you could just go unencumbered into the world.
Yeah, if you've got something that holds you back.
I don't know.
What would you do if you did not remember that particular
I know what Dave would do.
What's that?
He would get alien rubbers?
Oh yeah, alien rubbers.
Alien rubbers.
Grab the alien rubbers.
Rib for his, her,
rubbers.
or its pleasure.
Its pleasure, yes. Rubbed for the couch's pleasure.
What would you guys do?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I'd really have to think about that for a bit. I don't think I would be too much different. I think I would be, I think I'd be a lot more open to people. I think I'm very guarded. It's a weird thing with me because I think when people come up to me, a lot of times I'm like, what the fuck does this guy want? Mm-hmm. You know, like it's more of just, it's a defense mechanism because I don't really hate people. It's just more of every time I get involved, people just see me and they think that I don't know if I'm an easy mark, especially when I used to live in the city. People just come as like, you know, oh, my car broke down. I need $20 for a tow truck and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, yeah, man, here you go. And after like the 16th time it happens, like, there's a lot of people need $20 for a tow truck, man. You know, and so you just kind of get like jaded that kind of way.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I'd be a lot different that way. I also think, I don't know. I don't know if I would do anything too crazy. It's all according, obviously, the situation, but, you know, if you didn't have any memory of what you are or who you were. So, I don't know.
I mean, I don't think I'd be that much different, but I mean, it's kind of hard to know, like, what, you know, if it's just based on, like, your education, like, I don't know how much would stick, you know, as far as, like, the personality, because a lot of my personality isn't really from education, it's just from experience, and maybe if it's experience, maybe it would, I think I'd be the same, but who knows? I mean, like, you know, when you remove inhibitions and other things like that, you could be a completely different person. So, I mean, it's hard to say, really.
You know what I mean? Could see Holly being less tactful. I could see, because I can tell Holly sometimes is like, I'm going to be good about this. I'm not going to say anything right away. I could see that. I could see that happening.
I wish that's how I was. Honest to God, I feel like if I had lost any memory of who I was, I would not be capable of making this podcast with you guys. I've come a very long way with my anxiety, and it's a conscious choice that I overcome it daily. So I know that I would not function well in society if I haven't had all of the experiences that I have had.
Sure.
So it's hard to say, just because I feel like I would close myself off if I didn't know who I was. And
do you think, just real quick, do you think that anxiety is built in, or do you think that a part of you, or do you think that's something that you would lose too?
It's built in.
I mean, obviously you don't know, chicken or the egg kind of question.
Yeah, no, it's definitely built in. So I won't get into that, because that's like a whole nother hour-long podcast. At the same time, everything that I have experienced in my life has given me the avenue to be able to be on a podcast with you guys and to say fuck in public if I want.
Well, thank God for that.
Oh yeah,
and actually, and thank God actually that, you know, you've gotten your point to be on a podcast, and you can feel that you can express yourself freely,
right?
And hopefully, you know, that continues to be that way and doesn't ever get shut down,
right?
Yeah, I mean, we do learn a lot, obviously, and to self-correct our problems and fix things, you know, that are thrown at us, either mentally, biologically. You know, people have handicaps they have to work with, and they have to learn new ways of living with them. Those are all things that we all have to work with, you know.
Yeah.
Thankfully, everyone on the Enterprise crew don't have anything outstanding like that, at least that we know.
Except for Barclay.
Except for Barclay, yeah. Barclay's a different story. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I
really hope I didn't bore you all with my crazy anxiety.
No, that's good. I mean, that's a different side of it too. Is that, you know, if you erased your memories and you're stuck with something that, you know, you have to grapple with, you'd
have to start over.
Yeah, start all over, and maybe you don't have all those same building blocks as you had before. Because when you're younger, you can bounce back a lot faster. Mm-hmm. When you're older, you're just like, nah, that's enough for me.
Right.
I don't want to get hit in the nuts anymore.
Ow, my balls.
Ow, my balls.
Well, as always, thanks so much for listening. We have so many places, Holly said before, to visit us. Dave, it's not called Apple iTunes anymore. What's it called that you rate and view us at?
Is it Apple Podcasts?
Apple Podcasts, but Apple Podcasts, or there's other apps that you can probably.
We'll get back to you on that.
Rate and view us.
Yeah,
there.
When I signed up for it,
we'll be right back.
When I signed up for it, it was just iTunes, and I haven't had to go through the sign up process ever again, so I don't know what they call it. But there's Reddit and all sorts of other places so you can talk about us, and like we said a couple months ago, we Aaron actually found some people who said some very kind words about us on Reddit that were like one of the hidden gems of the Star Trek podcast world. So hopefully more people can get on Reddit and talk about us.
We'll feel the same, hopefully.
Hopefully feel the same with a hidden gem. I hope so.
Polish those gems and then share them with everyone.
Yes.
Donate them to the Patreon at patreon.com/synthaholics.com.
That's right. Again, if you have any ideas that you want to throw out, if your memories are erased, what you might do, what might happen, feel free to share it to us. If we get enough interesting ones, we'll share them in the next episode. That would be fun to do.
That would be so cool.
So tweet us at Synthaholics Duo. You can email us at Synthaholics what was it? Yahoo.
Synthaholics at yahoo.com. Yes.
And you can obviously just message us in the group. That'd be great too on Facebook. So that'd be awesome. So that's all fun stuff to do. And if you do have a little cash you can throw our way, Patreon /Synthaholics. That's a great way to support us. And if you can't do that, as we always say, hey, just tell people about the podcast. If it's through social media, sharing the podcast, or just telling somebody at work, telling a school. People are going back to school these days.
That's true.
Let them know. Say, hey, you like podcasts? Check out these guys.
Absolutely. Hope you'll like it. Hopefully they'll like it too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, on to the next one. Next episode, if everything goes right, it will be Inner Light.
Yes, watch it so that we can all be on the same page next week.
Share the joy.
Kumbaya, the inner
My
light.
Break out your flutes.
I have a flute.
Do you? You should get it on for this one, the next episode.
One year at summer camp, I stuck my flute
No,
that's a
wrong movie.
Didn't do that. No.
Well, thank you all so much for listening. Live long and prosper, one and all.
We'll cry till we laugh, and we'll blow shit off pants. You're the best drinking friend I ever had.
We did it.
That was fun. Yay. Thanks for being on the show, David.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool.
It's great being a guest on the show. I really appreciate it, guys.
It's great stuff.
I was thinking about introducing me as Tiny Tim.
Tiny
Michael
Tim.
Caine. That's what I was like.
Tiny Caine.
Michael Caine and Tiny Tim.
The only thing I can actually do is what's his name? Cleveland Brown.
You do it so
Family
good.
Guy. Yeah, I gotta work on that. I was getting a good Bernie Sanders thing going for a while, but I kind of fell out of it. I gotta practice it more.
Let's hear your Bernie Sanders. I don't think I've ever heard you do Bernie Sanders.
I had to work. I had it for like a week, and then I stopped doing it, and then I got and now I do. I just sound like a stupid version of talking like an old Jewish guy. So, I gotta work on it.
You don't look Jewish.
I just like to quote movies. Sometimes when I say things, I hope you guys get it and nobody laughs, and then I'm like, oh, they must not have seen that movie.
Sometimes I don't know. But that's Dave does the same thing to me once in a while. He'll say something I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, it happens.
That's normal for Dave.
Yeah.
What's normal for me?
To bring things up that we don't know what you're talking about.
Because I speak in tongues on the podcast.
Speak in tongues. Oh my god. Good stuff. Or what about like a whoopee cushion?
For his hands?
For my hands?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It'd just be hilarious to have a whoopee cushion.
Well, the thing is, like, I do flick. I have a little it's like a mini carabiner on my my lanyard, and I flick it open, and it like goes past where it's supposed to go, so I have to push it back in, flick it up, and I'm sure that's annoying. Crochet doesn't make any noise. I just really want to do my crochet again. I miss it.
But the clicking of those needles.
Oh, it's a crochet is a single needle. There's no clicking.
Oh, okay.
Everything else is in my hand. I made Holly 2 pretty tops.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Sent them to her.
Cool.
Those were like the last things I made.
I never finished my cod piece.
You need a cod piece.
You want a crocheted cod piece? Okay, man.
No, I really don't want one.
Did you get to film yourself running around naked in the woods since you were down in Allegheny? That's like for a Patreon thing?
Yeah, well, you weren't there to tape it.
Dave was really excited and hopeful for this.
Yeah, we mentioned it on the show. It's like, maybe he's filming this Patreon tease he's been teasing for such a long time.
For 4 years?
Yeah. But speaking of cod pieces and Picard, so in the episode where he was assimilated...
He has a cod piece.
He does.
Orgs are all about them cod pieces.
That's such a weird thing to say, and I'm so sorry.
Mmmmbop.
Dop, dop, doom, bop. Yeah.
Doobop.
Praise the Lord, no rhythm.
Did you ever see Steve Martin movies, The Jerk?
No, I did not.
Dave would love it. I mean, Holly, I'm sure you'd love it too, but Dave, he's a white guy, and he's raised by black people. And he doesn't understand why he doesn't have any rhythm. And and then the one moment, finally his mom tells him, you were adopted. You're not, you weren't born from us. And he goes, you mean I'm gonna stay this color? It's the funniest movie. You really gotta see the movie. It's hilarious. It's worth renting. I mean, I think you probably can rent it on like YouTube or whatever. I have a longer torso, but then I have shorter legs.
Yes.
So.
Speaking of Bernie Sanders,
does he have a long torso and short
What did you
legs?
just send? Oh, you just sent me a picture of Bernie Sanders playing the flute from Inner Light.
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, my torso is so short, Aaron, that my ribs almost touch my hips.
She can make her ribs touch her hips.
Sometimes they get stuck, and it fucking hurts.
Adam asked for his rib back, Holly.
He can have it. It would make things
You can
much
have it.
simpler.
Kaylee has a very long torso. I remember at your house, you both like pulled up your shirts a little bit and were like, "These are our hips. These are our ribs."
Our legs are the same fucking length. She's like 5'4", I'm 5'1", and our legs are the same fucking length.
It's funny. It's funny when you get people are like, what you don't have. People are always like, I wish I had longer legs. I wish I had.
I had big boobs. I wish I had curly hair. But
I wish I had big boobs too.
I wish I had huge pectoral muscles.
She has wonderful muscles.
Yeah, wonderful muscles.
For our female listeners out there, I just want to say I think small boobs are lovely, and I wish I had them.
I like small boobs. I like big boobs. I like medium-sized boobs.
David likes every boob.
Boobs.
Dave likes all boobs.
Equal boobertunity.
Equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity boob.
He's an equal boobertunist.
I'm sorry. I've been drinking for a while. Equal opportunist.
It's got to be equal boobertunist.
Equal tittertubitist.
OpporBoobitist.
I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
Tittertubitus.
Opportunity.
Well, I am going to shut off this recording now.
Okay.
This is just getting silly.
Okay.
Synthaholics after dark.